The roar of a breaking wave exerts a force that is difficult to truly comprehend until you are standing directly beneath it. On the windward face of a coral reef, this hydraulic hammer strikes thousands of times a day. It delivers impact pressures that would strip a human city to its foundations in a matter of weeks. It is a chaotic bombardment of energy. Yet, amidst this violence, life not only survives, it builds. It constructs the largest biological structures on Earth. The secret to this defiance is not just bulk or weight. It is a microscopic marvel of chemistry and engineering. It is a suite of biological adhesives so sophisticated that they defy the dissolving power of water, the sheer force of tides, and the eroding march of time. Today, on G Fun Facts Online, we are looking at the story of nature's superglue, the invisible anchor that holds the ocean's ecosystems together. To understand the magnitude of what these organisms achieve, we first have to appreciate the environment they are working in. We often take glue for granted, but sticking things together underwater is a nightmare of physics. Seawater is the universal solvent. It hydrates surfaces, creating a barrier of water molecules that prevents most chemical bonds from forming. In the human world, gluing two wet surfaces together usually fails because water wicks into the interface, pushing the adhesive away before it can grip. Underwater, this problem is compounded by salt, which corrodes and interferes with electrostatic attraction, and by the relentless motion of the ocean itself. Yet, a single mussel, clinging to a pylon in a storm, holds fast. A barnacle, cemented to the hull of a ship, often requires a chisel to remove. A coral polyp, soft as a jellyfish, lays down a limestone foundation that eventually becomes a mountain. These organisms have waged a billion-year war against the physics of water, and they have won. Their victory lies in a mastery of protein chemistry that human science is only just beginning to unravel. Let's start with the most studied master of wet adhesion, the blue mussel. You have likely seen them clustering on rocks at the beach, battered by waves. The mussel's strategy is fascinating because it does not glue its entire body to the rock. Instead, it engineers a shock-absorbing suspension system. When a mussel finds a suitable spot, its foot, which is a tongue-like muscular organ, emerges from its shell. It probes the surface, cleaning away debris and sensing the texture. Inside the foot, a biological injection molding process begins. A cocktail of liquid proteins is secreted into a groove running down the foot. Within minutes, these proteins solidify into a thread known as a byssal thread. The foot retracts, leaving behind a golden, hair-like tether anchored by a small, adhesive plaque. The genius of the byssus lies in its chemical gradients. The thread is not a uniform piece of rope. It is a composite material. The end attached to the mussel is stretchy and elastic, allowing the animal to move slightly and absorb the shock of waves. The end near the rock is stiff and tough. But the true marvel is the plaque itself, the tiny disc of glue that bonds to whetstone. The secret ingredient here is a modified amino acid called DOPA. This molecule acts as a molecular grappling hook. It has a unique chemical structure that loves to bind to metals and oxides found in rocks. It can physically displace water molecules from the surface, essentially drying the microscopic contact point to allow a bond to form. Furthermore, the mussel utilizes iron ions from the seawater to create crosslinks between these protein chains, curing the glue into a hardened solid. It is effectively a self-healing, impact-resistant underwater epoxy that sets in minutes. While the mussel uses a tether to allow for some movement, the barnacle commits to a forever home. Once a barnacle larva settles, it never moves again. Its survival depends on a cement that is arguably the strongest natural glue known to man. Barnacle cement is a multi-protein complex that defies degradation. Unlike the mussel's thread, which can be severed if necessary, the barnacle's bond is designed for permanence. The cement glands secrete a fluid that spreads between the barnacle's baseplate and the rock. This fluid contains a mix of proteins, some hydrophobic, meaning they repel water, and some hydrophilic, meaning they love water. Recent research has identified specific proteins, such as CP19K and CP20K, which self-assemble into amyloid-like nanofibers. These fibers form a mesh so dense and entangled that bacteria cannot biodegrade it, and strong acids cannot dissolve it. Crucially, the cement cures without shrinking. This is a vital property, because if the glue shrank as it dried, it would pull away from the rock. The sheer strength of this bond is staggering. Tensile strength tests show that barnacle cement can withstand pull-off forces of over 2 megapascals. To visualize that, imagine a small car hanging from a single square inch of glue. In shear tests, which measure sliding force, it is even stronger. This is why scraping barnacles off a boat hull often results in damaging the hull before the glue gives way. Now, let's look at the architects of the reef itself, the coral and the algae. The coral polyp is the builder, but it is also a master of adhesion. When a coral larva settles, it undergoes a dramatic metamorphosis. It flattens against the rock and begins to calcify. But before it builds its limestone skeleton, it must stick. The polyp secretes a protoskeleton, an organic matrix of proteins and sugars that acts as a template. This matrix bonds to the rock and then guides the crystallization of calcium carbonate directly onto the surface. It is a form of biomineralization where the glue essentially becomes the rock. However, the corals do not work alone. The unsung hero of reef stability is crustose coralline algae, or CCA. To the naked eye, CCA looks like pink paint splattered over the reef. In reality, it is a rock-hard calcifying algae. It grows over loose rubble, dead coral skeletons and sand, secreting calcium carbonate that binds everything together. If corals are the bricks of the reef, CCA is the mortar. Without this algal superglue, the reef would be nothing more than a pile of loose bones, easily scattered by the first typhoon. The CCA provides a continuous, solid pavement that seals the reef structure, protecting it from erosion and providing a clean, chemical-cued landing strip for new coral larvae to settle. The molecular mechanisms at play here are a masterclass in chemistry. The central challenge of underwater adhesion is interfacial water. On any submerged surface, a layer of water molecules is tightly ordered, acting like a force field that prevents other chemicals from touching the surface. As we mentioned with the mussel, DOPA is nature's solution to this. The catechol side chain of DOPA has a high affinity for surface oxides. It can punch through that hydration layer, forming hydrogen bonds and coordination bonds with the surface atoms. But sticking is only half the battle. The glue must also be cohesive, meaning it must hold itself together. This is where metal coordination comes in. Mussels and sandcastle worms, which build tubes out of sand grains, use metals like iron, calcium, and magnesium to bridge their protein chains. A single iron ion can grab 3 DOPA molecules, locking them together in a rigid complex. Interestingly, this chemistry is pH dependent. Inside the animal's gland, the glue is kept acidic, which keeps the proteins liquid and prevents them from cross-linking prematurely. When secreted into the seawater, which typically has a pH of around 8.1, the sudden shift to alkalinity triggers the cross-linking reaction. The glue cures instantly upon contact with the ocean. It is a smart material that responds to its environment. These adhesive strategies are not recent inventions. They are the product of hundreds of millions of years of evolutionary pressure. The Cambrian explosion, approximately 541 million years ago, saw the rise of hard-shelled organisms, and with them, the need to attach. As predators evolved crushing jaws, prying claws, and drilling tongues, the pressure to stay anchored increased. The intertidal zone, the area between high and low tide, became a refugium for species that could withstand the exposure and the waves. Here, adhesion became a survival prerequisite. Evolutionary convergence is rampant in this field. Mussels, barnacles, and tubeworms are not closely related, yet they all evolved protein-based glues. The specific proteins differ, but the physical principles, displacing water, cross-linking with metals, and using nanofiber reinforcement, are strikingly similar. It seems there are only a few ways to solve the physics of wet adhesion, and nature has found them all. For centuries, human engineers have envied the barnacle. Our best glues, epoxies, cyanoacrylates like superglue and polyurethanes, fail miserably in wet environments. They are often toxic, brittle, and require perfectly dry surfaces. But the field of biomimetics is now changing that. By reverse engineering the mussel's byssus, scientists have created new classes of medical adhesives. One of the most promising applications is in fetal surgery. A mussel-inspired glue is currently being tested for prenatal procedures. It can seal ruptures in the amniotic sac, a procedure that was previously impossible because no glue could stick to wet, living tissue without poisoning the fetus. We are also seeing new dental adhesives that use DOPA-like chemistry to bond fillings to wet teeth more effectively, reducing the need for drilling and etching. In the industrial sector, adhesives are being developed that cure underwater, allowing for the repair of oil pipelines, ship hulls, and bridge pylons without the need for expensive dry docking. There are even surgical sealants that mimic the energy-dissipating structure of the mussel thread. These are hydrogels that can stretch with the skin or heart muscle, but hold a wound closed with the strength of a suture. However, this story has a darker chapter. The chemistry that makes these glues work is delicately balanced, and human activity is upsetting that balance. The ocean is absorbing massive amounts of carbon dioxide, leading to ocean acidification. This drop in pH is catastrophic for bioadhesion. Remember that the curing of mussel glue relies on the shift from acidic to alkaline conditions. As the ocean becomes more acidic, this shift becomes less pronounced. Recent studies have shown that mussels reared in acidified water produce byssal threads that are 40% to 60% weaker. The critical iron-DOPA crosslinks fail to form properly. In extreme cases, the glue simply doesn't set, and the mussels fall off the rocks, to be eaten by predators or smashed by waves. Barnacles are also suffering. Their calcified base plates become thinner, and the protein cement, while still sticky, struggles to anchor to the eroding shell. For corals, the double whammy is severe. The acidification slows their skeleton building, while simultaneously dissolving the mortar of crustose coralline algae. The chemical cues that guide larvae to settle on the algae are disrupted, leading to recruitment failure. The babies simply don't attach. The reef is often viewed as a biological entity, a community of fish and coral. But fundamentally, it is a geological structure held together by a microscopic layer of glue. This superglue is the unsung hero of the marine world. It allows soft, squishy life to stand against the might of the ocean. From the molecular grappling hooks of the mussel to the nanofiber cement of the barnacle, these adaptations are triumphs of evolution. They are inspiring a revolution in human materials science, promising a future where our broken bones and broken bridges are mended with the same elegance as a reef. But as we marvel at this microscopic engineering, we must also recognize its vulnerability. The chemistry of adhesion is the chemistry of the ocean itself. By altering the ocean's pH, we risk dissolving the very bonds that hold these ecosystems together. If the glue fails, the reef falls. And in the silence of the deep, the anchor is already beginning to slip.